Did you know that you can figure out what you look like based on your own astrological birth chart? Your rising sign, specifically your ascendant, can be a huge indicator in ways that you appear to others. So it can tell me like what your physical vessel literally looks like. So this can tell me like physical characteristics and physical qualities of how you appear to the outside world. The entirety of your chart really also plays a role in what you look like and how you appear to others. So if you have any like planets in that first house, or what your rising sign ruler is and what sign that's in, and what's your moon sign, your sun sign, and all your personal planets, along with any planets that make an aspect to your ascendant. All of those will play a role in how you appear to others and your physical appearance. But for the sake of this series, we're just going to be focusing on our ascendant for now. Starting with Aries rising. So the first thing that I tend to notice about Aries risings, either when I first meet someone, or if I have a friend who's an Aries rising, or if I'm reading for an Aries rising, the first thing that I tend to notice is they have amazing eyebrows. So whether they have that perfect arch to their eyebrow, or just a nice shape, or they have really full eyebrows, or maybe they have a prominent brow bone, whatever it is. Something about the eyebrows is just the focal point of an Aries rising face. They also tend to have I don't want to say they have baby faces, but they have these faces that are just almost innocent looking and, just kind of sweet. They also have these really piercing eyes. So it's if you're making eye contact with an Aries rising, it's you'll feel it because it just it pierces right through you. Another thing that I've noticed is that Aries risings, you guys are just very sturdy, solid people. You don't really look like that person that could blow away in a strong wind, you can really hold your ground. And that doesn't mean that you're these, big muscular people. You can be, but it's just a solidness to you. And you guys also tend to have a sturdier build, like the ram. Next, we have Taurus rising. The first thing that I tend to notice about Taurus risings is there's almost this smoothness to you guys. You just kind of ooze this energy of being cool, calm, and collected. And it's not you have to even try and do that. It's just this kind of effortless energy. You guys tend to have really prominent features, but also there's a softness. So it's you have these strong, bold features, but there's a softness to it. Physically, you guys also tend to be kind of strong and solid, a little bit like an Aries rising, but in a different way. More in a grounded, bull type of way. Even if you are thin, it's kind of you don't look like you'll easily be pushed over. You're just kind of this solid, grounded person. You also tend to have a nice neck, maybe broader shoulders as well. You guys tend to have a very distinct fashion sense. And it's you like to present yourself as being put together. And being ruled by Venus, you're probably pretty pleasant to look at. And obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But there's this magnetism that comes with being a Taurus rising, where people can't help but be drawn to you for whatever reason. I always think of Miley Cyrus and Stevie Nicks because they're both Taurus risings and obviously very magnetic people. Next, we have Gemini rising. The first thing I tend to notice about Gemini risings is almost this luminosity under the skin. Kind of you guys are little fairies almost, where there's this fairy dust surrounding you. And you might even have this fairy-like or pixie-like quality to you. Kind of you're one place over there, and then someone looks away and then you're over here. And it's just kind of this fast movement. And there's also just a sparkling quality to you. And sometimes that sparkling quality comes from a little twinkle in the eye. And that twinkle comes from curiosity or mischief. Kind of you have this look of being up to no good. Gemini risings also tend to look a lot younger than your actual age, which is such a slay. There's just this mischievous youthfulness to Gemini risings. You guys also have very expressive facial features. These are the ones who you don't really have to guess what they're feeling or what they're thinking because it'll just show right on their face. And also in their body language as well. You guys also probably love to talk with your hands. And this goes with really any Gemini placement, but when you're a Gemini rising, it's just kind of you talk through your hands. And if you couldn't tell by now, yes, I am a Gemini rising. We just love to tell a good story, so when you can throw in, the facial expressions and imitating someone's voice, not in a mocking way, but in just trying to enhance our storytelling, and we do the body language and we throw in the hand movements. It just leads to painting the picture of the story a little bit better. and it leads to being like a more fun conversation overall. Another thing about Gemini risings is we tend to have like really long limbs, like really long arms and legs, and sometimes even like longer fingers. There's just like a noticeable lankiness to Gemini rising. With Cancer rising, the first thing I tend to notice about Cancer risings is you guys tend to have very like soft physical features. Like you don't usually tend to have like those like sharp edges to your features unless there's like, aspects from Saturn or, something else going on in your chart. It's almost like your features kind of mimic the moon in a way where there's just like a roundness to it. And that doesn't necessarily mean like you're always round or you have a round face or whatever, although it definitely can be. Like I'm thinking of Cameron Diaz, like she definitely has like that round shaped face and, she's just very beautiful. It's just like your features are just like really gentle and soft and comforting in a way. Going along with like those rounder features again, another thing I tend to notice about Cancer risings is you guys have like really like round and just like these deep eyes. And you have those eyes that it's like people feel really seen when they're around you and like you're looking at them. It's just like just this comforting, nurturing energy. So you might find that people just kind of naturally feel comfortable around you. It's just like you have this very like comfortable and almost like familiar energy to you, even if you're just like meeting somebody for the first time. It's just like you feel familiar to them. And just like, again, this like nurturing, gentle energy and not in like an invasive way, but just like people just feel comfortable around you. You guys also have like a luminosity under your skin, kind of like a Gemini rising, but more in like a glowing way and not so much like pixie dust following you. It's just kind of like you're glowing in a way. Like the moon when it's glowing in that night sky, like that kind of energy. Next we have Leo rising. Now I find Leo risings are kind of like the easiest for me personally to spot because it's like you guys literally look like lions and lionesses and like almost like cat-like. Like I'm specifically thinking of that actress from Ted Lasso, Rebecca. That actress name is Hannah Waddingham. I remember watching that show and I was like, oh my god, I bet she's a Leo rising, and sure enough she is. Another common characteristic of Leo risings that is well known in the astrological community, but is your locks of hair, those luscious flowing locks, or lack of hair, So it could be that you have like really like thick and long and luscious and like shiny, beautiful hair. Or maybe you did at one point in your life and you decided to shave it all off. There's just something about, like the lion's mane, and that's part of that, what you look like. Leo risings, you guys also probably like to be seen or not, depending on other factors going on in the chart. But as a general rule of thumb, it's kind of like you guys like to express yourself through how you present yourself in the world. And so that can be through like what you wear and, how you do your hair and how you do your makeup. And, Leo is a very like royal and regal sign. And so you probably like to wear like nice jewelry, or it doesn't necessarily have to be nice, but you probably like to wear jewelry and dress in like jewel tones. Like you're probably not that kind of person who wears like just like the earth tones. It's like you like to wear like your favorite colors. Or maybe you do decide to do like all black, and that's just how you express yourself, Whatever your vibe is or whatever vibe you're going for that day, it's kind of like you want people to know what it is, and so you'll like express your vibe through how you present yourself and through what you wear. The next sign we have is Virgo rising. So the first thing I tend to notice about Virgo rising is how delicate your bone structure is. And I don't want to say dainty because like that is not the right word to describe you guys. But it's almost like Gemini rising in a way where it's just kind of like this delicate pixie-like quality. But instead of, like that fast, Gemini energy, it's kind of like this more elegant and refined quality to how you look. Like I'm thinking like Timothy Chalamet, he might be a Virgo rising, just based on how he looks. He just kind of has like that delicate bone structure, and that's nothing against him. I find him very attractive, but also like Bella Hadid, she's very much like a Virgo rising and just like that refined, delicate bone structure, like chiseled almost. You guys also have like soft and subtle but very observant eyes. You guys are like so perceptive and you notice everything. And so you have those eyes that kind of like give that energy. Like you probably give a mean side eye, like, did you see what I saw? Like that kind of energy. You guys also probably prefer to look more like put together, not necessarily like you'll only wear like, nice business clothes or whatever, but even when you're wearing like sweatpants, it's like, and even like a messy bun, it's like you still pull it off and make it look like put together, So the first thing that I tend to notice about Libra risings is your smile. Whether you just have like a symmetrical smile, or maybe you have like nice teeth, or maybe you just like have a nice little smirk that's like really charming, or maybe you have like dimples. Whatever it is, I can always spot like a Libra rising or a Libra placement based on your smile, because it's like you can just like light up a room and change the energy of a room by just, flashing them pearly whites. You also tend to have like these nice prominent cheekbones as well. And you also tend to have like these soft and pleasant facial features. Often you guys also have a more like balanced and symmetrical facial feature, or, physical features as well. Usually very like aesthetically pleasing or like conventionally attractive. You guys also have a very like charming and friendly demeanor, always wanting to create like a peaceful and harmonious environment. So the quickest way for me to like spot a Libra rising in the room is, looking for that person who's, running around making sure everybody knows who each other is, and, connecting other people and making sure that everybody's getting along. Peace and harmony is really important to a Libra rising. And I know that's not really like what you look like, making sure everybody's, getting along and there's harmony in the environment, but it's just this vibe that you have. And that vibe is easy for me to spot out. And that vibe can often, present itself externally as well. You guys also probably like to look good. It's like look good, feel good type of energy. Whether that's like you like to get your nails done and you don't feel like you can like take on the world if you don't have your nails done. Or maybe you just like really like to do your makeup and you don't feel like you can like put yourself out there in the world if you haven't at least done your eyebrows or your mascara or your like lips or whatever. Or maybe you like to dress up. You guys tend to have a really good fashion sense as well, just because like what looks good and what is aesthetically pleasing. And so you like to present yourself in that way, when you want to, because it's not like you're not gonna go out in the world in sweatpants sometimes, because we all do that. Next, we have Scorpio rising. Now, Scorpio rising is another one that's easy for me to point out because I have so many Scorpio risings in my life. But you guys have such like intense and piercing features, especially your eyes. You tend to have these like piercing, like magnetic, and almost mysterious eyes. There's something called the Scorpio stare, and it's kind of like where these people will look through you almost, because it's just like such an intense, like piercing, like they can see down to your soul type of stare. And what they're doing is they're kind of almost like, doing that to gather information on you, even if it's like a subconscious thing. And it's like they're seeing how you take in this like intense energy, seeing if you can handle their intensity. Scorpio risings are notorious for having like that resting bitch face or whatever. And it's not like they're even like in a bad mood. Like they might be in a great mood and they might just still look like stone faced. So it might be more difficult to tell like what a Scorpio rising is thinking or feeling, because it's just kind of like a lot of their processing is going on internally because they don't want to show it externally. And so this is where you can get that reputation for being like intimidating. You've got the stare and then you're hard to read sometimes. And so that can be, off-putting to people who can't handle that intensity. You guys also tend to have a little bit more sharper features as well. So that can be like, sharp jawbone, or like a sharper nose, or sharper eyebrows. Physically, you might be like more solid and strong as well. Kind of like an Aries rising, but a little bit more softer. Next, we have Sagittarius rising. So the first thing I tend to notice about Sagittarius risings is you guys are either really tall, or you appear taller than you actually are. So like if you befriend someone online and then you finally like meet in person, you might be told like, oh, I would have guessed you were a lot taller. You just have like that tall energy, I guess. You guys also tend to have like, solid, strong, long legs. And as me and my astrology friends like to call it, the Sagittarius, because usually you guys have a larger behind. Another thing I tend to notice about Sagittarius rising is you guys also kind of have a mischievous look in your eyes, kind of like a Gemini rising, but more in like a playful kind of way, I guess. Just a kind of like a sense of play and like, how can I make the most of this situation, and how can I make this situation more fun for me? You guys are also so funny, and you guys are just wanting to make the most of any situation, and so it's like your laughter can almost fill a room. People notice when a Sagittarius rising enters a room. Again, it's just like your aura and your energy fills the room. So it's like maybe you have a really big laugh, or maybe you're that person who's on the bar dancing, or like maybe you're the first one to grab the microphone at karaoke night. You just have this expansive energy that fills the room. The first thing I tend to notice about Capricorn rising is your amazing bone structure. You guys have like really prominent bone structure. So whether that's like, the good jawline or the cheekbones, there's also almost like a squareness or like a rectangularness to your facial feature or even your body type. Just like very defined features. You guys also tend to have like darker, like earthier features. So you might have like darker eyes. Even if you have like blue eyes, they might be like a darker shade of blue. And you probably have like darker eyebrows. Like even if you're blonde, it's like your eyebrows are darker than your hair. And again, you have very like strong and sharp features, and you can be very angular. Like there's like, 90-degree angle to your jaw. You guys are also kind of like a Scorpio rising where you're a little bit harder to read because you're kind of like a little bit more stone-faced. You also really don't care to like hide how you feel about someone or something. So like if you're disappointed in someone, they'll probably know it based on your face. You might also be told that you're kind of intimidating at first as well. Just because you are kind of more like stone-faced and you have this natural air of authority to you that can be intimidating to some people. You also tend to appear probably more mature than you actually feel. Like people just see you as this like authority figure who is like, wise and mature but beyond your years. But inside you might be like, I don't know why people think that about me. In terms in how you like dress or present yourself, you probably strive more towards like the classic looks. Like you're probably not that person who's gonna like jump on the trends just because something's trendy. You're like, that'll be out of style in like a month. And so you're just kind of like, I'll stick to my classics. Next, we have Aquarius rising. The first thing I tend to notice about Aquarius rising is the eyes. You guys have these almost like big, like cat-like eyes almost, where it's just kind of like it takes up the majority of your face. And it's almost like they're so big, you're just like taking in all you can from the world around you, trying to like absorb everything you can about like what is this human experience we have going on. Your appearance is also kind of like otherworldly, not so much alien-like because Aquarius is the most human of the signs. There's just this uniqueness about you where it's kind of like only you look like you, basically. Like I always think of David Bowie when I think of Aquarius rising. Like he was so unique in how he looked and how he presented himself in the world. And I just feel like there's no one else in the world who looks like David Bowie. And so in turn, there's no one in the world who looks like you, Aquarius rising. There might be like similarities, but there's really only one David Bowie, and there's no one in the world who really looks like him. And so I just think he's such a good example of being an Aquarius rising. And yeah. And so as an Aquarius rising, you probably like to present yourself in some kind of unique way. Whether that's like dyeing your hair different colors or doing like different hairstyles or hairdos. Or maybe you like to like get tattoos, or maybe you just have like a different fashion sense. And you tend to express your uniqueness outwardly in some kind of way. You tend to be like a bit of a trendsetter, so like something that you're interested in now like might become trendy like 2-3 years from now, and by then you're like already on to the next thing that'll become trendy like years later. And last but not least, we have Pisces rising. The first thing I tend to notice about Pisces rising is I'm always drawn to like the mouth, whether it's like you have like wider, thicker lips, or lips that are like more full, or maybe you have like a nice smile. You guys also have these like big, like watery eyes, and not like you've been crying or anything, but they just almost look like wet, I guess. And there's this deepness that it's almost like when you look into a Pisces rising eyes, it's like you could almost just like get lost in them. Pisces rising to me is almost the most difficult to spot because Pisces is the combination of, all the signs that come before it. So there's this almost like chameleon-like quality to how a Pisces rising looks, where they might look different in different environments. And that's just part of their mutable water nature. In general though, Pisces risings, you guys present yourself in a very artistic way. Whether that's like wearing like long flowing clothes that like almost look like, a mermaid tail, or like your favorite colors, or, the Pisces risings that I know have lots of tattoos. And they just express themselves artistically through their physical appearance. There's also this like ethereal and flowing and like mystical way to the way that you present yourself. And just like a very like soulful demeanor. I think for me, the giveaway to a Pisces rising is not so much how you look, but in just like the energy and the vibe that surrounds you. Almost like you can feel like an instant connection with a Pisces rising, and almost feeling like you've known them for like 200 years. Like I have a friend who's a Pisces rising, and I think the first day I met him, we talked for like 6 or 7 hours straight, and it just felt like, oh wow, like I've known you for several lifetimes. That's kind of like that energy of a Pisces rising. And that concludes my What You Look Like Based Off of Your Ascendant Sign series. So if you like that and if you want me to do more things like this, be sure to let me know because this was actually kind of fun. Be sure to like and follow along as well and check out my website. I'm going to start offering mini recorded readings and I go into more depth than I do like in these short videos. But thanks for watching.